Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Joffy Noodle Legs here today. Got another top 10 for you, another horror top 10. This time a bit different. It's not on movies, it's on video games. But following in my sort of last horror movie top 10, this is my top 10 favourite survival horror games. I have done a top 10 of my favourite horror games, which is cool. It's on my channel if you want to go and have a look. But this is my top 10 favourite survival horror games. So I thought I would do that because I've just done my top 10 favourite survival horror movies. So I thought I'd follow it on with a game one. So we'll crack on. Instead of getting to my top 10 first, I'll do three honourable mentions as I always do. Um, First up is a new sort of release on the PS5, and this is Madison, following the story of a guide sort of tracing. We don't really know what's happening in the story till you play the game, but it's like there's sort of a bit of a ghost sort of story going on, and his father's after him and stuff. He's up to something. I'm not going to tell plots because I just don't want to spoil games for you. So this is like him sort of trying to find out the story and survive the events that are happening. So that's a really cool game, Madison. Another one on the PS5. It's like a sort of independent sort of game called Infliction. This is another sort of survival game where this guy's family's been killed. Um, Now it reminds me of a lot of PT, if you've ever played that. It's like a jump scare sort of survival horror in like a house as you undiscover the story of what's happened. That's Infliction. The last one's also on the PS5, and this is Tormented Souls. This is like a real old school style of game, like Silent Hill, um, stroke Resident Evil. It's like old school sort of horror, survival horror. Really, really cool game. If you've not played that, I really recommend you checking out, especially if you like the old school style with the fixed sort of camera angles and stuff. It's pays homage to those sort of games. So they are the honourable mentions. So I'm getting to the top 10. There is quite a few PS4 games in here, and there's quite a few Resident Evil games in there because they're survival horror and they're amazing. Anyway, number 10 is like another sort of new release on the PS5, and this is Dying Light 2. Stay Human. This is the follow up to Space 15 years after the first one. And it's really, really cool. It is a typical survival zombie first person open world kind of adventure game where you've got different missions to sort of perform. But it's a really, really cool game. That's in at number 10. Number 9 is Resident Evil 7, Biohazard, whatever you want to call it. This is the gold edition, which includes the DLCs for the game. This again is a first-person survival game. You're trying to survive this sort of like, almost like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Leatherface sort of family, and you're trying to survive and sort of help your wife who's been missing for 3 years at the same time, um, and all the evils unfold as you play the game. It's a really cool game. That's number 9, Resident Evil 7. Number 8 is this has just got a new remaster, actually a remake, but I haven't bought the remake. I just got the original. Well, this is a remake, a remaster, but it's The Last of Us Part 1. So this is the first of the Last of Us games. This was originally released on the PS3, and then when it came out on the PS4, it got a remaster, and now it's on the PS5. It's got another remaster remake, which is one of the reasons why I've not brought it, because I just think it's the same game. But anyway, excellent game, great survival game. There is a part 2. It's okay, not as good as this one. I do like this one the most. It's a really, really cool game. Um, and that's The Last of Us Part 1. Really, really cool game. Great story following uh, uh, this virus that's about, and this girl seems to be immune to it, and he's trying to transport her across the country. Um, if to be experimented on so they can use her to create like a cure for it, or does he help save the girl's life? It's a survival game. See what happens if you've not played it. The Last of Us, really cool. All right, number 7 is another quite modern one, and this is the Resident Evil 8, The Village. It's basically based in the village. It follows on from number 7. A really good game, really cool. And this village is sort of like, it's sort of there's kind of vampires in it. There's werewolves. There's all sorts of creatures in it. A few zombies chucked in there for good measure. Um, and so it's a really good horror game. And you've just got to sort of survive your way through the village and different areas of that. You're looking for your daughter's who's been taken, Rose. So this is the story of that. Excuse me. A really good game. Great survival horror. And that's The Village. Really cool. Right, number 6. Until Dawn. Really great sort of slasher game. It's sort of like homage to great slasher movies like Halloween, Scream, all those sort of horror films. And it's a great, you play different characters, multiple characters in this, and it's like a story-based game. So your options choose the outcome of the actual game. Now, it's not a game where it's just a point and click and you do move about, you do have options, you do got to discover and explore different rooms and different areas, find different clues. It's a really cool game. And if you do like this game, there are so many good games like this out there called The Quarry, Man of Medan, all the Little Hope. All these games are pretty quite similar, and they're all fantastic. I've put this one in there because it was one of the sort of like original ones, like Heavy Rain. If you like Heavy Rain, it's similar to those sort of games. Really cool. That's in at my number 6. So I'm getting to my top 5. Number 5 is in this Outlast Trilogy games, and it's Outlast 2. I love the second one the most. It's about like a cult sort of village, and you've got to try and work your way through that. You've been in a plane crash, and you and your colleague are trying to survive this awful village where there's a lot of sort of like child killings and all that sort of going on by the sort of like religious cult. Really cool game. The first one's really good as well, based in sort of like a sort of like psychiatric hospital, and it's like full of crazy sort of creatures in it. So that's another really good one, but I like the second one most. So that's in at number 5. Number 4, going back to Resident Evil with Resident Evil 2. This is a great remake of the game, plays Claire Redfield and Leon. Really cool game, and it's based around the sort of the police station in Raccoon City. And it's a really cool classic game. It was out on the PS1. This is like the remake of that classic game, and it's a classic survival horror. All these now are classic survival horror games. So that's number 4. Number 3 is a PlayStation 3 game, and it's a Dead Space. It's like Resident Evil in space, if you like, but there's loads of different creatures in there, and you play as Isaac, who's like a sort of like an engineer, and he's got this weapon which is a multiple sort of tool, really, and he uses it to shoot at these creatures. But he's got the only way you can really kill them is sort of like blow off their limbs, their legs, and things like this in their head, or they'll just keep coming at you. It's a really suspenseful survival horror. It's really cool, really good game. I absolutely love Dead Space, and I believe they're in the midst of making a remake of this, Dead Space. Number 2 is the first Resident Evil game, Resident Evil 1. This is in here with Resident Evil 0, which was like a prequel that came out after that one. But I like Resident Evil 1 so much. It's based in the mansion. It's a really cool sort of survival zombie game. Lots of puzzles. Great characters in there, Jill Valentine, and that. It's just a really good game. If you've not played, you must have played Resident Evil and Resident Evil 2. They're both classic games on the PlayStation 1, and these are like the remakes of them both. Really cool game. I love this version of it. It kept that sort of like feel of the first one, which is really cool. Love that game. So it can only be one. My favourite survival horror game has to be Alien Isolation. It's a fantastic game. It's based in after the death of or uh, Sigourney Weaver's gone missing, and this is her daughter, and it's based like that story. She's going exploring the ship, and there's an alien loose on there, and she's trying to survive, and you see some other survivors there, while she's out there looking for Ripley. Um, and there's a few good DLCs in there where you can play the original crew from the Alien film. But this is like a real typical sort of Alien um, survival horror game. So you're just trying to survive not being killed by the alien whilst the story unfolds. So that's a great game, and they are my survival horror games, which I love. I love games, I really do. I like a good variation. I love my horror games. I love simulator games, games that are simulator games, as you know. On my channel, there's been a few like lawnmower simulator and bus simulator. There will be some more coming up with some simulator games, maybe some train simulator. But we'll crack on, and I'll put some of those up on my channel. They come up randomly, so check them out if you're interested in that sort of thing. What are your favourite survival horror games if you're into them? Write down below. Let me know if you're into any of those, or you're just into the movies. Horror movies. You might not be into gaming. I like horror games because, especially if they got that sort of like almost movie-like sort of feel to them. So you're playing like a movie, like Man of Medan feels like you're playing a movie. Until Dawn, Little Hope, all these sort of games give you that sort of movie feeling, which I love. Really cool. But they're my favourite survival horrors. Anyway, guys, till next time, look after yourselves, look after one another, and I really hope I see you all soon.